All right, so anvil height. We're talking about anvil height, and like I said, talking about connections. As you can see, this one, as I mentioned, with the chain, and then you have the wood. Another option you have right over here with these types is where it's over top of the foot. Same thing, like I said, you don't want it to bounce around and move around. As far as for anvil height, if you notice on the ones here, they're not on a static one, such as this, where it's unmovable for the anvil height, but the ones here are actually set up so that you can put blocks underneath. So, especially when you're here doing a class or something, make sure you check your anvil height. There are multiple different heights. But we did a class one time, and we had a guy that was halfway through the class, and his back was bothering him. But yet he's been a blacksmith for many, many eons. I don't know how many, but a lot more than me, that's for sure. And it wasn't until we finally figured out and changed the anvil height that he started doing better. His back quit bothering him as much. So, like I said, key things is make sure that your anvil is the right height, and then also attach your anvil to the stand so it doesn't bounce around all over the place. Well, some people like to go straight on at perpendicular to it, and other people like to be a little bit more parallel to it. Just a lot of times depends upon what you're doing or what you're focusing on. When you're when you're on the horn, if you go straight across, go perpendicular to it, then whatever you're going around the anvil is actually usually going to curve. So you got to be prepared for the angle of that anvil. And watching him sometimes, you ever see him, he actually has his legs sitting way back here doing it. He's also a little bit taller than me, so I imagine anvil heights for him is really difficult. At his one at home, he probably has it set perfect, but like I say, you go to a lot of demos, using somebody else's anvil, then you kind of have to adjust to it and figure it out. But a lot of times with that, once again, it's ergonomics. We all know about gripping the hammer too tight, and start bothering your hand and bothering your elbow. But dealing with the anvil is dealing with as far as for your back and your ergonomics, same thing. Whole purpose of doing blacksmithing, whole reason behind even the bounce of the anvil and how good the anvil is all a matter of how efficient I can be at my work. If I'm sitting here and I'm hurting and I have to take more breaks, then I'm going to be less efficient at doing what I need to do, making what I need to make. So then it's going to take me more time and it's worth more money out of my pocket. Yes, sir. Horn. So the question was about the horn, which way like pointed for me, my one at home is actually pointed to the left. Technically, it really doesn't matter. It's whatever's best for you. But on my one at home, I also have a piece that sticks out here. And so in order to actually make sure it doesn't stick out towards me and I don't hit it, that's why mine's to the left. But mine's also double horn too, so a lot of times it just depends upon whatever your preference is.
It can also depend on the hand. Since you're right-handed, the left hand is here, so you want it there. So because if you do it on the other side, you almost have to cross yourself to do it.
Yep. If you
At that demo with Joiner Guy Knives, Carson said that he had his foot facing to the left. I had mine in my shop facing to the right. I thought, well, I'm gonna try it. And yeah, I finally got there for me to have it facing to the right.
The horn should be on your tongue hand side, because you need to be able to control the angle of your metal to the curve of the horn. So that should be your tongue hand, and then you either stand slightly at an angle to bring your hammer around it. You can't do that if your tongue hand's on the left and your horn's on the right. That's why the horn should be on your tongue hand side.
One thing also to remember is don't think that you have to be stuck on one side of your anvil either. You should make it so you can go all the way around your anvil, because it depends upon what you're working on, what you're doing. Some people even take the anvil and put it on the side and use this part right here as a swage. Or even some of them, especially the ones with the windows, the church windows, they have a lot different curves in there. Your anvil is a tool, so use it as you need it. Moving around, don't just stand in one place. It's heavy, so you move around it. So it makes your life a little bit easier. It's because there's been some times when I need to use one side, it's easier, but versus going around to the other side. And same thing, especially when you're dealing with the dressing of the anvil. You have some edges that are more radius than others, and some are more sharper than others. So if you have a sharper edge over here, you need to do it for an over the edge hit. Then move around your anvil. You don't have to stay at one spot. You don't have to be on one end or the other. It's whatever works better for you, most efficient. And that's the cool thing about going around and seeing different demos and different people, is the fact that you get to see their different things. And one person mentioned that when I was at SOFA this past time, is that you don't necessarily have to go to watch and see what they're making, but watch the artists themselves. Watch how they're standing, how they're operating, how they're moving. So indeed, you may not need to know how to make that hook, but look and see how they're doing it, how efficient they're doing it. You already may know how to make 1,000 different type of hooks, but with that artist, so let's see how they're doing it, what little nuances you can find. So, any questions, concerns?
I remember at last time I was here, Mark Asprey was doing a class on drifting that they're gonna do today, and he said he was making a drift, punch a hole, make a round hole. He's like, you don't need to shape the entire length, you only need this much of it to go through the shape you need. And it probably never occurred to a lot of people, they just spend all this time trying to get this.
Draw it all out.
So he tapered both ends of his, but only the center piece made it half an inch, the diameter he wanted. Something that, I never thought of, but it makes, he's right.
Exactly. Why draw it out so long when you only have to go through it a little bit?
That's paying attention to what he's saying, versus what, so.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions, concerns? All right, that's all I have for my little 5-minute demo. Thank you for watching and enjoy yourself.
Thank you, Mr.
You're welcome.
Thing about paper, stone, and scissors. Rock, paper, scissors.
There's actually a French word for that. I can't think of it.
Where'd you go? I want to do the rock, paper, scissors. What are we going to do first? Rock, paper, or scissors? Tell you what, pick something. Rock, scissors, or paper?
Granite.
Huh?
Granite.
Say one of the words.
Rock.
Rock. Okay, you guys get to do whatever you do to make the rock. That's fine. Rock, scissors, paper.
Who are the other demonstrators? Who are the other
That's the
demonstrators?
only three.
All right, you come on up now.
You're no fun.
No,
Just
no.
no fun. Just no fun. Anybody want to volunteer to go first? Of the three of you?
Or second.
I'll do it, get out of the way.
I was gonna put names in a hat and I just didn't get time to get it done. And then Mr. Pennington rushing us. Anyway,
They need us, so
I don't know if you remember, we've done these mini demos a couple of times, and I think they have pretty popular. It's also a good way to get more people exchanging information. For those that haven't done a lot of demonstrating, it's a good opportunity to have a less intimidating way to start thinking about, can I do a demonstration? A lot of people say, well, I can't do that because I don't know how to get demonstrated. Well, that comes to practice.
I'll be perfectly happy to prove the fact that you can do it without being a good demonstrator. I will need the forge going, so I don't know who's our forge master.
more gas than others.
That'll work.
Until they get warmed up and even out a little bit. I've got one at home that comes in on a hand, and this burner over here gets starved until it gets warm enough, and then everything seems to be even out.
All right. So, y'all remember the horseshoe horse demo that we had a while back? I'd been doing those for a couple of years, and at one point I kind of migrated it into doing, instead of a horseshoe, I did a seahorse. I have now since completely forgotten how I used to do that, so I had to come up with it again. And the first thing I did is, well, I went and I grabbed and I took a look at what does a real seahorse look like. Say again? Oh, hey, look at that. So fancy. So yeah, what a real seahorse looks like. And then I had to start figuring out like dimensions. But the thing is, I don't know like the rest of you, I'm a junkyard smith. I don't go into my pile of 3/4 bars. No, I go into a scrap thing and what's this? So I didn't bother with dimensions. I started working with ratios. I figured out the thickest piece here, called that 1, and then just started measuring the rest of it based off of those dimensions. And I kind of came up with this. Is it really? Yeah. Not enough contrast there. So where it came up where, oh, okay, the body is 2 of the thickness. And then working with the tail, I took some clay, wound that tail up until it was the approximate size of the bar, figured out, oh, that whole tail is 2 more thicknesses. And then I kind of did the same. Yeah, did the same for the head there too. So I just kind of figured out, oh, okay, so this is going to be, if my bar is this much, my total thing is going to be like 6 units, whatever thickness is. And that's how I'm going to try and work that. So that being said, I got a really bad case of tennis elbow this week. And the 2 times that I tried to make this work, I got about 2/3 of the way through it, and my arm quit out on me. So, also, here's a question for y'all. See this cool fin in here? Anyone have an idea how we could do that? Because this is mostly straight through here. Then this comes out. I thought about maybe taking a chisel and going in at a little angle, taking it and popping it out like that, and then taking a cross peen. Anyone else got any ideas? I tried to just take a regular peen and do it, and I just ended up with this weird little bump that didn't look very good. But so we'll see. We'll try it today. Any questions on any of this?
You doing it two-sided or one-sided?
One-sided. I'm not that good to do 2-sided. That'd be a whole different thing. And it will not look like this at the end either. I mean, if you wanted to get in there with the chisels and everything, I'm sure you could spend, it's one of those things. You could spend get 80% of it done in 10% of the time, and then spend the other 90% just doing the finishing. First thing I want to do is draw out that nose, which is pretty thin, as you can see. Yeah, I do. So I actually tried to work, again, I work with clay first, and I kind of did this all with clay, and it actually turned out, that nose turned out so thin, it did not look right, and it would not stand up to forging. So we're not here for 100% realism. As somebody said, we're just kind of making a caricature or something where someone looks and goes, oh, that's a seahorse. So. Do we have a hammer yet that's okay for smacking things? We'll see. It's a little dark. By the way, y'all, this is that strapping that we get for iron in the hat, which I found out is exactly 30 millimeter. It made working those ratios and everything made that a lot easier because it was like, oh, 1.127 30 millimeter. Good, we'll go with that. No, it's angled. Can you see it? So it's bouncing. Does seem to be a tad light for the job. Well, it's not. It's. You know what? Yeah, that sounds good. Well, that would work too. All right.
Oh, that's even better.
There we go.
I figured save your elbow for the.
I do appreciate that, sir. Go. Stop. It's actually all I'll probably need. It's all I'll probably need with that. Was this important? It's a cutoff. It's probably came off the anvil. So yeah, going for the nose first. Actually, I don't know how long this will take. But yeah, I like going, working out. Working out the nose here, coming back, and then doing this, and then doing that tail, that long taper of a tail last, because it makes it hard to hold on if you do the tail first, and then you try and do the front half of it. I'm not overly concerned with how long the nose actually turns out to be, because I'm mostly guessing to begin with, and then if necessary, I just trim off whatever doesn't look right. By the way, some really nice guy brought in a bunch of soapstone for marking things. Much appreciated. It was me. So I was talking about how I use just the thickness of the bar. So I have a spare bar so that I can just there we go. That's two thicknesses. So when I need to measure things out, that's about all I really use. We'll see if it actually works. You can round the nose if you want. I'm not going to bother. I'm just going for the basics right now. All right, so about like that. I'm going to go decently sharp corner. Wrong way. Start putting in the neck, which is about half width. So I'm going to keep going on that. Yes, sir. Uh-huh. Seahorse. So this will not be the finished product. We'll see how close we can get to that. But that's what I used for my model.
What made you come up with the using the ratio?
Mostly because I was looking through my junk pile and I don't have, like, a lot of guys, oh, okay, I'm going to go grab my 3/4 by 1/4 bars or whatever else. I don't have that. It's literally a junk pile. So, and also, you can, if I give you guys the ratios, you can take it to whatever size you want. You know, you want to do a big one, you want to do a small one, you can fit it whatever. If you know that, oh, okay, base 1, this is 2, that's half, and 2 to work all those out. It's just easier in my head than holding in the actual dimensions. All right. So there's the nose, there's the head. You can see, dropped in the, let's not set my thing on fire. Drop that in there. And now I'm going to start on essentially the belly. Or compared to my drawing, kind of see how it's getting there. So this tail is supposed to be when I woke up this morning, I just sawed off a couple pieces, didn't bother measuring them. So this tail should be about this long. So I got almost an entire extra width of tail on there. Pretty sure I won't send this flinging towards you. Sure. Stop. Twisted. Good. Now I might not necessarily do it this way because it's causing some foldovers, your cold shuts, but we don't want to be sitting here for the whole time while I draw it out. You guys know how to draw out a piece of steel. Go. Stop. Go. Stop. Go. Stop. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'm being a lot sloppier than I would be normally, mostly because I can tell I've got a time limit on my arm. But mostly doing this so you guys can get the sense on how to do it. So. It's a little from column A. Yeah, I want a little bit more length on it. Go. Stop.
Well, some Smiths talk about the 301 or 401 rule about vertical height versus the 48.
Yeah.
You're obviously exceeding that quite a bit.
Yep. Well, it is close, but the fact that we're using this and going fast, that's what's really doing it. If you're doing it on your own, you can control it a little better. When I was working with this earlier, I was able to bring it out to a nice taper, but it took me a while. And like I said, unfortunately, I'm on a time limit with my arm. And of course, if it's only one-sided. But yeah, there are huge amounts of cold shuts on the back of this thing. Five to 1. Yeah, let's go ahead and get the cutoff.
Well, you talk about coach shuts and the problem with this, you're not doing anything structural-wise.
Right.
Shuts comes more when you're doing structural-wise.
Yeah, if this is a one-sided decorative piece, I could foresee somebody taking this, taking that tail, curling it up and making a hook out of it. Okay, the cold shuts on the backside don't really matter. But yeah. There. Yep. Yep, good. that is all I pretty much need you for, sir. Thank you. Round of applause. When you're making these at home, Bill's going to come and help there too. So. Thank you, Masked Man. Tail I worked out to roughly about 6 inches. So the tail's roughly about 6 times the thickness of the body. Am I on a time limit, by the way? Am I on a time limit? Okay.
Maybe on the left, I don't know how long you're supposed to stay in that chair.
So what do y'all think? How should we try and get this tail out? Basically from here, get that out, I don't know, about a third. Anyone? Suggestions, thoughts, ideas? Peen? So. I was trying to figure out how to get that that back in without messing up the whole, because you want the body to be the thickest part. If you cut into that with the chisel and then you try and bring everything back, it's, uh-huh.
Has the opposite curve again. If you start with a flat, hammer that all forward, except for that fin, you should be able to draw the fin out of it.
Didn't quite catch that. Come, demonstrate, or at least point.
You're starting with a flat piece, right?
Right.
But the body has to go like this and like this, except for that, the tail that's coming out.
Actually, if you look, the body is almost straight.
Yeah, but you could fudge that a little bit.
You could, yeah.
So when you're pulling, if you cut in
'Cause-
here and cut in here, you could pee this out without affecting these, and then do the belly.
All right, we'll try that.
We were all saying,
Group effort. Group effort. Okay. Tail should be a roughly nice taper all the way down. All right. No.
we have some up here that are sharper.
It's not bad. I'll use this one. Soon date. thin enough now that I'm not overly concerned about hitting it cold. There we go. So I'm going to go back in, and since those were only punched from one direction, or slit from one direction, I'm going to open them up. Ain't going to be pretty, but... All right, there's that fin separated out, and then I'm going to try and come in at the edge of the anvil and get that and that way, and kind of like Bill's thing, have it more of a curve like that. Let's see how it works. Pardon? You pretty much could have stopped it if you'd thought ahead of time. Nah, because that's... yes, I probably would have done something where it was both sides, 'cause that way, because now I have this, and it's going to require some file work to prettify it. I honestly wasn't sure, because what I'd done before in the past is I had taken and I'd simply peened. I basically had peened an area like this, and it came out as a bulge, like that, and then I put lines in it. And it represented what we were looking at, but it didn't, when I went back and I looked at my old ones, I was like, didn't have the flow that I liked. Especially if you're making something, don't then go and look at the real animal. You're not going to do yourself any services.
One thing to remember in any iron
Right.
trying to make your eye think that's
Right. Yeah, and what happened with me actually was the fact that I didn't like the way that back bump fin, I didn't like the lines of it. It didn't flow for me. Come on. And ah. Hopefully nobody's getting bored or anything. We all good? Cruising our phones. How many of y'all do that where you just have a thought in your head on, well, here's 3 or 4 different ways I can try it. Let me see what happens.
part of the idea of these mini demos is to show good stuff in the mistakes and the thinking process.
Yeah, well. All right, we kind of got that fin separated out, but now I've kind of lost the belly that I had going on here. So I'm going to pound some steel, I guess. Pardon? Peanut? Yeah, yeah. Do we have a horn? Bic? What do they call those? Alrighty. I'll see what I can do.
I like how the fin turns out.
Yeah, me too. What I'd like to do at this point, kind of like Bill's drawing there, is get a curve in here and then basically push that out. Gravity works. Thank you. Not sure. I'm actually not exactly sure what I'm trying to do.
Heavy bar stock if you need.
Nice drift.
Get you a piece of heavy bar stock if you need it.
Nah, I'm beginning to fade a little bit. When we messed with the body, drawing out those fins, it threw the ratio for the head off now. So I didn't put a big enough gap here where the neck is, so now I can't get it to come down. I pretty much went with like a straight 45, and it should have been bigger. Should have been a larger radius than that, because then you'd be able to bring the head into the classic position like that. But again, as Bruce said, does it make you think of what it is? Yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but yeah, I worked at a Wild West town as a blacksmith there, and I used to do a lot of we used to stamp names and horseshoes, and then I do the horse head and then a horse tail off that. So I'd have the horseshoe, and then the ones that messed up, I'd cut them in half and I'd turn them into these seahorses. But there were already half a horseshoe, and I just did a quick head, quick fin on it, and put a little tail on it. It wasn't nearly as I don't even say this is accurate, but it's much simpler. All right. I am afraid my arm has just told me it's done. So, where I would go from here, one, I'd get that tail to a nice taper and then curl it up however I wanted. Some of the fun things you can do with that, instead of just going for the classic curl, have you ever seen a seahorse grabbing onto something? The tail actually goes down and around. So if you had a bar, you could take that and wrap it around it, have the seahorse off that. That'd be kind of nice. A simple one, of course, is to bring it up, bring it out, and make a hook out of that. I'd change the ratio of the head. I'd probably cut the nose off more, get in an eye punch out the tail fins there. But does that give you guys a basic approximation on how you can do that? Thank you. Can we drop this on? Can you drop hot stuff on here? Or? Okay. All right.
That's high temperature Bruce Brown.
The past that I really like, if I can get my keys out here, is this dog's head. And it could be a keychain like this one, or it could be a hook if you want to make it longer, or maybe there could be something else somebody thinks of. But I've always liked this little project. It's not real hard, but you have to do some thinking to get it. And I've made this one. I've made several attempts in the past to duplicate it, and it hadn't always come out right. So I started thinking, how can I make one easily without wasting iron, which is what happened in the past. And I had a couple pieces of iron I wanted to use. So I was thinking of clay. Now you could actually do it with clay. But one of the things is this is made with 1 inch by 1/8 inch metal. All right, and that's a lot of beating out of clay to do if you want to do it that way. So I was sitting there the other night and I said, well, how can I practice this without actually forging? Because this week was not a good week for me. So what I came up with was using paper. And you could use cardboard. That would work. Cardboard might be a little better because it would be a little thicker. You could get cardboard probably pretty close to 1/8 of an inch. But this is what I had. And so I took a piece of paper out of my notebook, cut it to 1 inch wide, just so it would work more like the original. And then I made my first one. I made my measurements. Where's my book? Okay, like I said, this is an inch and 1/8 metal, inch by inch and 1/8 metal that I'm working with. I wanted my dog head to be, snout to be 1 1/4 inches. This piece to be 1 1/4 inches, and the full length of the head to be 2 1/4 inches. So you have to make the bends, and Bruce is the one that taught me how to do this. I'm not a great mathematician, but yeah, he's talking about ratios here, and man, my head's spinning. But you know, pi times the diameter to make a circle. So to make a half a circle, it's like pi times the diameter. So the bend is going to be 1/8 inch. So, yeah, where am I at here? Pi times 1/8. Then you divide it in half, because you're only making a half a bend here. Okay? So what you come up with in the end is each one where you, yeah, to get this length, you have to add 3/8 to it. So I want this to be 1 1/4 inches. So I added 3/8 to it, which equals 1 5/8 inches where I make my bend. Same thing with the top. I want it 2 1/4 from the ear to the tip down here. So again, I added 3/8 to this dimension, and I get 2 5/8 where I make my bend up here. Like I said, I've done this a couple of times, and it never came out right. So I cut my paper, first one, made my marks. 1 5/8 inches, made my fold. 1 2/8 inches, made my fold. So I pretty much figured out that this dimension and this dimension came out right when I did it that way. However, it wasn't long enough. So what do? You use a longer piece of paper. So I took the second piece of paper, made my folds, got my dimensions. Now I wanted to figure out how much tail I needed, or how much metal I needed to make it and have the tail on it to make the keychain. So what I came up with, well, first I did my folds, and then I had a strip of paper this long. When I got done, I looked at it and I said, okay, this is about what I want here to have left to make my hole for my keychain, maybe a little shorter. So I cut it again, measured it, and I came up with 9 inches of metal. I mean, maybe that's more complicated than it needs to be, but that's the way I got to the end there. Again, you could do it with just math. I wanted to see what it would look like when I did it and get the total number or total length of material that I wanted to come up with a reasonable facsimile of this one.
You want to use this, you're welcome to. Are you going to do any hammering?
I don't really need to, no. I don't, yeah. I forgot this was up here. You don't really need to see me bend a piece of metal. You all know how to do that. The main thing is the measurements. And so here on this piece, we wanted the snout about 1/2 inch on this one. I like it a little bit more, but that's okay. It can be whatever length you want, depending on what looks good to you. Then you add the 3/8 here. So this is where you're going to make your bend. Right here on the second line, 3/8. Oh. Okay. Again, here's the measurement you want for the snout. You add in the 3/8, you're going to make the bend. Now, a lot of ways you could do it. Probably the easiest would be to put a center punch on your 3/8 line so you can find it once your metal's hot. And take it over to the vise or edge of the anvil if you have a good sharp piece. And you want to bend it right at that 3/8 mark, or as close to it as you can. Get your full length of your snout. When you get done, here's what you have. And that's about 3/4 right there for that particular dog's head. Again, you're doing this. Oops. You're going to do the same thing. I don't know if you can see this or not. Same thing for the face. Here's the length of the face you want. Here, whatever that length might be. Then make your next line at the 5/8 to make your half fold. Again, you want to, when you get to the anvil, you want to get, or the vise, you want to get it as close to that second mark as possible. Again, you would probably center punch. You would make that mark before and center punch it. Then you wind up with your dog face. Right? You can see that this one. Those are my tickets. This one's coming out a little smaller than this one. Okay, which is okay. It all depends on what you're looking for in the end. What the longer face does for you, it gives you more room to put the detail in. Then you have to have a set of punches, which we have here at the forge here. So, again, you know, need a set of punches. You can make them. Here, there's not too much there. Here's basically for the ears was a ball punch, small ball punch, right, Bruce? And, okay, small ball punch to do this. And what you want to do, though, is extend the ear. All right, so make your first punch here, first punch there, then just angle the punch slightly to push the ears out. All right, and again, to have whatever amount you want. The eyes, an eyeball punch, and an eye punch, and a center punch or elongated center punch for the eyeball itself. Again, how much detail do you want on it? Eyebrows, you can do. The nose is, again, a small ball punch. You can do something different. You know, again, it's whatever your take is on it. And then a curved half moon, half round punch for the mouth. Then again, you can decorate it with just like center punch or whatever, just decorate it with the little spots on it for the nozzle. Then the bottom piece, after you've done all that, if you're going to make a hook, I meant to bring that with me and I didn't. I have one that's a hook, and then, you know, just bend it up. You could put a fishtail on it, whatever you want to decorate it. If you're doing a keychain, then the round, then either punch or, I think, yeah, this one was either punch or drill a hole through it for your key ring. I think it's a little heavy, but it makes a nice keychain, I think, in the end. Really, that's about all I got on it. I mean, any question on it? I mean, it's not. Well, yeah. If you, we did one for Wounded Warriors here, well, probably 2 years ago now or more, and most of them made a hook because they wanted to put their dog leashes on it, and it does make a nice one for that. So, and again, like I say, you just need to figure out the amount of material you want and how round or how much for the snout, how much for the head. And I really think a strip of paper is much easier to do that with and cheaper too. I mean, we all got scrap paper you can throw away when you're done than trying to figure it out with clay.
Well, what's really cool is that I took a class up in New England School of Metalwork with Peter Braskovich, and he did all of his calculating pennies. And a lot of times he starts off with the same thing you did with paper.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool. Actually, this is only the second time I've heard somebody using paper to figure it out.
Well, I just figured it out the other night, so I mean, no great learning curve here.
This project's a good example of one that the techniques are dirt simple,
Yeah.
but visualizing where you're going or how to get
Yeah.
started on it, that's the real trick of the whole thing is where am I gonna fold it, how long has it gotta be, where I make my fold, this kind of thing.
Right.
Like you said, the paper helps you visualize that. The actual forging on this is absolutely very simple.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really just bending it to this shape and then chiseling it, you know, using the various punches to chisel it out. Okay, all right, sure thing.